All right, so where I usually like to start the demos is talking about dynamic groups. One of the key differentiators for InboxGuru is that we integrate directly with dynamic groups. What you'll see in most marketing automation systems is that they have to take a dynamic group, convert those to an ad hoc group, and then they have to sync down all the contacts and leads and then the static ad hoc groups into their marketing automation system before you can compose an email. And that requires you going into their system to actually build the segmentations. But the limitation there is that you only have access to the accounts, contacts, and leads to build a segmentation. With InboxGuru and dynamic groups, you can use the core Infor CRM power to build your segmentations using any table in the system. So if you have ERP systems or custom registration tables or whatever, you can obviously come into a dynamic group and build the where criteria. More importantly, you can also drag and drop columns into the layout. So anything that you add to a layout is anything that you can, anything that InboxGuru will have visibility into for either binding data to the email or for making decisions in the nurture flow. So if you have maybe a product category or an invoice from an accounting system and you want to have that data on a custom template, then you would just drag and drop it into the dynamic group. Okay, so this is just a regular dynamic group, and I'll just drag and drop. Looks like we don't have company. We do have company. We'll just say create source, drag it into here so we can see that a little bit later on in the demo. Okay, so InboxGuru is its own navigation on the left-hand side, and just a key note here is that everything you do inside of InboxGuru is done inside of Infor, so you never have to leave Infor to do anything. We'll start off with drip marketing, but first I'll say that we're a full marketing automation system in that we have drip marketing, which includes single email sends, drip email sends, which are when you want to send somebody an email, then 3 days later they get a follow-up email, then maybe 2 weeks later they get another email. Trigger-based emails, which are when you fill out a contact form, you get an instant email saying thanks for registering. And then nurture-based emails. And nurture-based emails are actually when you add decision flows and actions to an email chain. And we'll go through that, obviously. And next week, we're actually coming out with, you guys are the first to hear about this, an event management where you can actually have an event as part of the nurture. And if you have a webinar or a lunch and learn, you can add that as a stop and then import members. And I'll give you a sneak peek of that. So marketing automation also has landing pages, web activity, lead scoring and lead promotion, and then we'll also talk about assets and how we're unique with assets. So let's go ahead and add a drip campaign. We'll just call this demo. So the different types of templates are marketing, transactional, API, and sales pilot. We're just going to talk about marketing for today. You have 4 different lists: personal list, the team personal list, dynamic groups, and ad hoc groups. So a personal list you'll see over here on the left-hand side. Personal lists are lists that you would upload to InboxGuru only, so they don't exist inside of Infor. The reason you may want to have like a staging for list is that let's say that you went to a trade show and you gave away a gadget at your booth and you have 150 people who registered, but they're not qualified leads. They're just people who wanted a gadget. So you can put them into InboxGuru, you can email them in a drip campaign, and then score them and promote them into Infor once they're qualified. Dynamic groups and ad hoc groups. So dynamic groups is going to look at all the dynamic groups for the customer and present those in the list. And then ad hoc groups, again, the ad hoc groups of Infor. So I selected dynamic groups, and we made a call out to get all the dynamic groups, and we'll just do the demo for EU leads. Now here's a very cool feature of InboxGuru is list comparisons. So as you know, dynamic groups have where criteria, and as data changes inside of Infor, the dynamic group will automatically pick them up because it's an ad hoc query. Also, if you add new leads or contacts to the system, the dynamic group will automatically pick those up based on the where criteria. So what InboxGuru has the ability to do is to do comparisons throughout the day to say, okay, who's in this dynamic group, and compare it to the campaign that's already been executed. If there's a difference in people who have been added to the dynamic group, then let's add them automatically to this drip campaign. Conversely, if there are people who have been taken out of the dynamic group because, again, the where criteria has taken them out, then we will also take them out of the drip campaign. So to enable that, you just simply say automatically compare lists and do that on a daily or hourly basis. The email series here is a 1 email, 3 emails. This is just kind of a template, but you can change this as we go, and we'll actually change this to show you. Common email address versus a lead or contact manager. So a common email address may be like a marketing, or the lead or contact account manager. So in the dynamic group, if you join that table to the user info table and you have the first name, last name, and email address, you can make the email appear as if they're coming from that individual owner. So if you have a list of 10,000, you've got 5 different owners of those lists, then when they get the email, it'll be personalized coming from that person. So for now, we'll just leave it as common email address, and we'll do a create campaign. So I want to take a quick pause here, make sure everybody's still on the line, didn't drop anybody, and see if there's any questions so far.
All looks good so far.
Okay, great. All right, so the designer is a very easy to use designer. Looks like a Microsoft Visio. So it's you can zoom in, zoom out, drag it around. To add anything to the system or to activate anything, you click on the individual blocks. So if I click on this wait 1 day, I can very easily change that to wait 5 days and maybe do not send on weekends. If I wanted to add a new email series to this, I would just click on this block and say insert action after in an email. If I want to delete an email, just remove email. If I wanted to add a decision to make this more of a nurture, just click on this and say insert after, and this time we'll just call it a decision. It's asking me what do I want to make my decision on. You can see that I can make decisions on data that's in the database. So in this case, since we're binding to a dynamic group, I would make a decision from something in a dynamic group. So when I click on layout value, this is actually going to pull in the values that I drag and drop to the layout. So if I want to make a decision on perhaps the SEC code, equals starting greater than, so we'll just say equals to 5. And I'll just name this so I can see it easily in the diagram. Now you see that I have a decision. So email series 1 goes off. I make a decision based on data. Is SE code equal to 5? If yes, send this email. If no, end the chain. Let's say that I wanted to do a little something different. I didn't want to end it right here. I would just click on this and say, let's change this type to an action. And we'll edit the action. An action can be adding an activity. So if we wanted to add an activity into Infor for the person who owns the contact or lead, I would just say add activity. In this case, I could say the regarding and the notes. So this is what they would actually see inside of Infor. I could add them to another drip. I could add them to a list. I could update a lead or contact field. I could send a notification, or I could remove them. So for now, we'll just say add activity. So as you can see, this is very easy to build out the flow of your diagram. Now I'll just show you real quick, when you do an activate, it's going to do a check and balances on the system and say, let's make sure everything looks good. And you see that we've got an X. So it says that your add activity, the action does not have a branch. So what that means is that everything must have an ending point. So in this case, we have a decision, an email, and then an end. In this case, the add actions does not have an ending point. So we'll just say insert action after and end. So now when we go to activate, our checks and balances should work. All checks, we have an activate. So this can get as complex as you need it to get. I'll just go show you kind of a more advanced one. So as you can see, this nurture goes pretty far. You can have a decision after a decision. You can insert a pause or a call block. In this case, we have an action here. Okay, so let's drill into a little bit more about editing the emails. So I'll go into this demo. So we talked about how we can edit the flow of the nurture. Let's talk about how we can actually edit the email. And we'll go into this block, and we'll say edit email content. So here you see we have a WYSIWYG editor. If I wanted to add a merge field from the dynamic group, I just click on the merge fields. And since this drip campaign already knows the dynamic group is bound to, it will just come up with a list from that dynamic group. So in this case, we'll say insert their name, the first name. So this is pretty easy to use. Just come in here if you wanted to do a link, insert link. But something that we found that to be very popular for our users is a lot of users are still using MailChimp today, and they have a lot of investment in the MailChimp templates they created. So we actually have an integration to MailChimp, and this allows you to use the free version of MailChimp to build the templates. So we have an import MailChimp templates. This will do a real-time call out to MailChimp and grab the templates that you built in there and allow you to bring those into InboxGuru. Okay, so this template was built inside of MailChimp, and if I wanted to at this point, I can modify it and still put in my merge fields. And I could actually save this to my own template library. For reuse later. So other things you can do inside of here, you can import HTML. So if you're building your HTML from like a Dreamweaver, you can bring it in from that. You could bring in your own MailChimp, your own templates that you built in the system, or import one of our 10 templates that we have defined as a responsive template. Send test is a nice feature in that you can send a test to yourself, but you can merge it with somebody in your dynamic group. So if you have a person and you're using lots of merge fields and you want to see how that person may see the email when they get it, you would just put in their email address here. We'll go out to the dynamic group, we'll grab their content, merge it to the email, and send it to you as a test. We also have A/B testing. So each email along the nurture can have A/B testing. So we can just say enable A/B. And now you see over here we have A/B, and we're on the A email. Just click on B to edit the B email. And of course, we can have a whole separate email down here as well. Okay, let's talk about reporting statistics. So each one of these email blocks will have their own reporting, or you can get an overall drip report. So to see the report for this individual email, I just click on it and say View Statistics. So this would go out and get all the common stats for emails. So in this case, I had 86,000 emails that went out. You know, basic stuff like unsubscribes, opens, and clicks. And here you can slice and dice it the way you want to say, okay, just show me the people who have unique clicks, opens, that were delivered, that were bounced, and all this is exportable to Excel if you need it. Okay, so for this email I actually sent out in November, and I paused it on purpose so I could show this in a demo. But what happened is that this email number 1 executed, but email number 2 is waiting to be sent. So I can actually go into each one of these blocks and see who is in this block waiting to be sent. So in this case, you can see I have a large list. I can filter this list. If I wanted to, I could take this person and I could manage them. I could perhaps unsubscribe them from this workflow, or unsubscribe them from all workflows, place on hold, or start over. I can also jump to this person directly by clicking Open in CRM, and this will go into Infor and open that lead. So this is a good point to talk about how we're logging data back into Infor. You see that we have notes and history, and that we have this email that was sent. So this says email was sent. There's a campaign email campaign, and then this is the subject line: track who opens and clicks your attachments. Over here it says that this is the email that was sent, and if you wanted to view the email, you would copy and paste this into a tab. So we're purposely not pushing back in the content of the database of the email because it will grossly enlarge the Infor database. So we just allow you to click on the link and see it. Okay, so I'd like to pause there. That is pretty much what we can do with drip designers. I want to see if there's any questions about what we can and can't do in the system.
I think that looks great. We obviously like the fact that it's all in Infor. So is that the end of the kind of the demo for now, or have you got other bits that you're going to show us?
Yeah, I definitely have a lot more to show you. That's the email marketing part of it. I will say that based on some feedback from you guys, I forgot the gentleman I spoke with last week. They wanted to see the use of exclude groups so that we could bind exclude groups to these drip campaigns. So that will be something to be released in April. So that'll be a new feature coming out based on your feedback.
Great.
Okay, so let's jump into email templates are pretty easy. We don't need to really cover those. That's the same look and feel as the drip designer. Nothing to really cover there. Let's talk about landing pages. So lead capture is very important for marketing automation, and then what you do with that lead. I'm going to click on Add Pages. We'll just call this Demo. We support a few different types of pages. One is if you wanted to host or own the website yourself. So in a lot of cases, people already have a WordPress setup, or they have an HTML site, or they have their own content management system, and they don't want the experience of the landing page to be different than their website. So in that case, we just have a little add-in for that, which is our WordPress plugin. We also have our own page designer. So if you wanted to get a page up very quickly to do like a registration for a webinar, you can build that inside of our system. So if you didn't want to go to your IT group to say, hey, let's add a new page to WordPress, you could obviously do that inside of our system. We integrate with a third-party company called Unbounce, and then we also support REST APIs. And a REST API is when you want to have a programmer push data into our system and let us handle the rest of it. So in this case, for WordPress, we have to redirect to a thank you page. So you have to put in a redirect URL. You can set up notifications for anybody that you want to. So when the form is completed, you'll get a notification saying, here's all the data they filled out. You can add them to a list. And this is really about, this serves two purposes. One is to group them together in case you wanted to do something with this list. But number two, since our drip campaigns are bound to a list, you can automatically put them into, let's say, a newsletter. So if you wanted anybody who signs up on this form to be put into a newsletter, you just put them into a list. If you wanted them to get an instant email, let's say that you had a thanks for registering or a confirmation for a webinar, you could add them to a campaign. Here's something that's a little unique about us is we can add them to Infor as a lead or a contact. Most systems can only add them as a lead, and we found that a lot of people who are Infor users don't even use leads, they go straight to contacts. So in this case, you could do both. Or you could just say do not create. So let's say that you had maybe a survey that you did after your trade show and you just want to ask people questions how the trade show went, but you don't want them pushed into Infor, you could just say do not create. So allow duplicates or do not allow duplicates, that's basically deduping based on email. So we'll check before we push that into Infor to see if the email address already exists. If it does, then we won't push. And then who do you want to assign this lead or contact to? You can use your own Infor assignment rules, or you can just say assign this form to this person every time. So we'll do next step. And since we bound this to a lead, it's going to pull up all the fields inside the lead. And so we'll just say in this case we want to capture the email, first name, last name, company, and work phone. And then we click next. And then you'll see that we'll actually get some script that we can put into our WordPress site. So I'll just show you InboxGuru. So InboxGuru is a WordPress site, and you can see that all this content is actually built inside of WordPress. And then all we did was drop our script into the WordPress site, and this is how it renders. So what's nice about this is this will actually take over or take on the style sheets of the WordPress site. So there's no styling even needed to do for this. We did change out our submit button to have a graphic instead of a regular button, so that's pretty easy to do if you know how to administer WordPress. Okay, so the other type of landing page that we support are our own hosted landing pages. So we'll click on Add Pages. In this case, we'll say Page Designer. So everything else is relatively the same, so I won't explain this again. And then we'll just do next step. So now you see that we have a system that looks very similar to the drip campaigns, where it has a Visio type flow. In this case, we just have a one form design, and so let's go define this form, and we'll say Edit Form. So right now our form does not have any questions on it. So up here we can say Add a Control or Add a Template. So I'll just do a quick Add Template. We'll do a Contact Us template, and boom, we've got a first name, last name, email address, etc. So in just a few clicks, we've got a full page that will take data and will obey the import insertion rules. So let's say that I wanted to add a survey question to this form. I just go up here and I'd say Add Control, and we have lots of different controls you can use. So check boxes, drop down boxes. In this case, we'll do a star rating. So we want them to rate our service, and we want to have a scale of 1 to, let's just say 7, and we'll default it to 3. Now you see that we have a rate our service at the top of the page, and we can move that down if you wanted to by clicking on this Move Down button. Let's just look at that real quick. So just a few clicks, we've got now a nice little control that allows us to rate by stars. So let's say that we wanted to add a decision to this flow. So just like the drip designer, we can say Insert After. And now we want to say, let's take the question results, the rate our service. Let's say if that's less than 4, we want to get some comments. So if it's less than 4, yes. Then we want this to be another page. We change this to a form. Let's edit the form. Let's add a control for comments. So that's our comment box. And so now you can see that we have a decision, ask for more comments, or we can just end the survey at that point. Okay, so yeah, that's about all I want to cover for landing pages. So open up for questions on what we can do there.
Did you still have to have an end point at where you've got a branch like you did before, or?
Yeah, you do. So if I go to do a change status here, it'll do a check as well. So it looks like I have a couple of issues here. But yeah, I will have to have an endpoint to get this form to be activated. So you can activate this. There's different stages this can be in. Like if you have an inactive page, then you have to have an inactive page to show, like saying this webinar is over kind of thing. But yeah, so you come in here and say Insert After and the endpoint. Yeah, good question. But yes, you're right. You have to have an endpoint.
Okay.
Okay, if there's no more questions on that, we'll move on. Personal lists are pretty easy to cover. That's just, again, lists that are contained inside of InboxGuru. You can have as many lists as you want in here. If we go into this one, you can see that we just have a list of recipients inside this list. We can add members manually just by typing in email addresses, or we can import a list using CSV or Excel files. InboxGuru does not charge based on the number of contacts and leads that you have in the system, so you can have as many lists and as many recipients in those lists as you want. Web activity, so we do track web activity. We will put script on the customer's website, And if they're a known person, so in this case we have a lead and we have somebody who's been cookied. So you can get cookied in the system by either sending an email and they open or click on it, or if they actually click the registration form in the page designer, they get cookied as well. So in this case, Rhett was cookied, and if Rhett exists inside of our Infor CRM, this data will be pushed back into Infor, so you can see in chronological order that maybe an email was sent, they clicked on it, they hit the website, and then maybe 3 days later they came back to the website. So all that data is logged there. We also do our best to take the IP address of the customer and tell you their location as well as the name of the company. That has about an 18% hit rate in that we're able to actually tell you the actual company versus an ISP. So always keep that in mind when you're selling the tool, that you want to make sure that this is not 100% accuracy, it's about 18% accuracy, which is about the industry standard. We have a web dashboard, which is just looking at the analytics of the website. Sales Pilot, I'm going to skip for now. We're going to be coming out with an announcement in 1st of April about what Sales Pilot does. That's just a placeholder for our installations right now. Okay, so let's talk about assets. So assets for most marketers are anything that you're going to send in an email, such as a PDF file or maybe a YouTube video. It could even be a Word document and a PowerPoint presentation. But for InboxGuru, we actually take assets to a whole another level. First of all, we require anything you send to be converted to a PDF file. The reason we do that is that we can actually track people inside the PDF file. So let's say that you send them an email. Most marketing automation systems are going to be able to tell you that they clicked on the PDF, but then they stop there. What InboxGuru can do is once they click on the PDF, we can now tell you that they are on page 2, that they read the entire document, that they spend 3 minutes versus 5 minutes inside the document reading the entire document. So that's a neat part of our asset tool. We can also allow you to send a YouTube video to a customer using a link, and we can tell you how far they watched the YouTube video. So you can really start to track a lot more about the engagement inside the document. So here I have an InboxGuru overview. And you see that I've got 5 impressions. We can tell you the impressions coming on the document. And what you'll have is a link to that document. And that link, when you click on it, it'll bring up the document inside of our viewer. So now when you hit next page and next page, we're controlling the experience, so we can also tell you what page they're on and how long they're looking. So another cool feature of this is you can program the documents. Let's say that you take this link and you put it into Twitter feed, and now you're sending this document to an anonymous group. In most cases, when you want somebody to get a PDF, you require them to fill out a landing page first. And typically, you have about a 99% drop-off rate of people abandoning the lead form because they don't want to fill it out to get the document. For us, we say go ahead and give them the PDF, but you can program a lead form to pop up inside the PDF when they get to a certain page or maybe a certain time. So in this case, I could say if they spend, let's say, over 30 seconds inside the document, then pop up a lead form. We can either pop up a full contact form or just an email address. And then you can say, on that lead form, why you're asking for the email address. So very cool little feature inside of this tool that allows you to do document publishing and lead capture inside of PDF files. Okay, any questions about assets? And that really completes our demo. So that's pretty much the gambit of everything that we're doing inside of InboxGuru. So I'll open up for any kind of question in general.